Hey there, and welcome to like a Longevity 101, a deep dive designed just for you.
Yeah, we're going to be distilling down a mountain of research
On living longer, healthier, all that good stuff.
into like a clear and simple format.
Exactly.
So it's perfect whether you're brand new to all of this longevity stuff or you just kind of want like the cheat sheet.
The Spark Notes version.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we are taking our cues from a leader in the field, Dr. Peter Attia.
Mm-hmm.
So first things first, when we say longevity, what are we even talking about?
Right, because everyone's using that word.
Everyone and their mother.
Yeah. But what does it actually mean?
It seems like it means something different to everyone.
That's right. So Dr. Attia, he breaks it down into two parts, lifespan and health span. Lifespan, pretty straightforward.
How long you live.
Exactly. Yeah. Health span, how well you live those years.
Okay, so lifespan makes sense, but tell me more about this whole health span idea.
Yeah, so imagine like you live to 100.
Okay.
Which is amazing. But the last like decade of that, you can't enjoy your hobbies, you can't play with your grandkids because your health just isn't there.
Right.
That's where health span comes in.
Got it.
It's making sure that those years are vibrant and fulfilling, not just kind of tacked on at the end.
So it's not just about adding years to your life, but adding life to your years.
Exactly.
Sign me up for that. And so does that mean then that this whole deep dive is about kind of maximizing both?
Absolutely.
Lifespan and health span.
You got it. And Dr. Attia argues that focusing on health span might actually be even more important.
Yeah, that's interesting. Why is that?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
The things you do to improve your health span, eating well, exercising, managing stress, those things also tend to make you live longer.
Oh, okay.
It's a win-win.
I'm all about that ROI. So you get more bang for your buck. And this ties into what he calls medicine 3.0.
Yes.
Right? Where health span is just as important as lifespan. It sounds very futuristic.
It does. It's true. But to understand it, like, fully, it helps to look back at how we got here.
Okay.
So Dr. Attia talks about 3 stages of medicine. The first one, medicine 1.0, this is, way back when. We didn't really understand much about science or the body. Lifespans were way shorter, and people died from, like, things that we can easily treat now.
Yeah, like an infection.
Exactly. Or complications from childbirth, things that are often fatal back then.
Why?
Yeah. And then came medicine 2.0, right? So this is the era of the scientific method. We figured out germ theory. We have antibiotics, sanitation.
Right.
This is when we saw this huge jump in lifespan.
Medicine 2.0 sounds pretty good. So what's the problem that medicine 3.0 is trying to solve?
Well, medicine 2.0, it's still mostly focused on treating diseases after they become a problem.
Okay, yeah.
But so many of the health challenges we have today, like heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, these are chronic conditions, right? They slowly chip away at both our lifespan and our health span over time.
So medicine 3.0 is about prevention.
Yes.
Getting ahead of those problems before they start.
Exactly. It's about preventing those chronic diseases rather than just reacting after they develop. It's also about personalized approaches. Using the latest scientific evidence, tailoring treatments to your unique needs.
So instead of waiting for something to go wrong, we're trying to stop it from happening in the first place.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But to do that, we kind of need to know what we're up against.
All right.
Dr. Attia talks about the 4 horsemen of death. What are those exactly?
Okay, so these horsemen are like the 4 main culprits behind those chronic diseases. These are the things that steal our time and our health.
Okay.
We've got cancer.
Okay. Had to be one of them.
Heart disease, neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's.
Right.
And then lastly, metabolic diseases. Think like heart attacks, strokes, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease. These are the big ones.
Okay. Those are some serious opponents.
They are.
So let's break them down one by one, starting with, let's say, heart disease.
Okay.
What are some of the key things we need to know about preventing that?
So Dr. Attia, he gets into the nitty-gritty of heart disease, and he identifies 3 main pathways involved. Lipoproteins, the endothelium, and inflammation. Now, don't worry too much if you don't, memorize those terms right now.
Right.
But basically, these are all crucial players in your cardiovascular system.
And the takeaway is that things like what we eat, how much we exercise, whether we smoke, those can impact these pathways.
Absolutely. Hugely.
Yeah.
Your lifestyle choices have a huge impact on your heart health.
That makes sense. Now, what about cancer?
Yeah.
That one always feels a little more mysterious, a little more Like
It is a complex one.
out of our control.
It is complex. Genetics definitely plays a role. But again, those environmental triggers like smoking, obesity, these are major contributors to many types of cancer.
Got it. So it's not all about bad luck necessarily. We can stack the deck in our favor.
You got it.
Now, this next one hits close to home for me, neurodegenerative diseases.
Okay.
My family has a history of Alzheimer's, so I'm always looking for ways to kind of protect my brain as I get older.
Yeah, I hear that. It's a big concern for a lot of people.
It is.
For good reason. And you know that saying, what's good for the heart is good for the brain? Turns out there's a lot of truth to that.
So all those things we talked about for preventing heart disease,
Yeah.
they're just as important for preventing cognitive decline.
Exactly. It's all connected.
Okay.
And then finally, we have those metabolic diseases, often driven by, you guessed it, our modern lifestyles.
Let me guess. Too much sugar, too much processed food, and not enough movement.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Dr. Attia calls it overnutrition. It's basically throwing our metabolism out of whack, leading to insulin resistance, which then sets off this whole cascade of other health problems.
Right.
It's like a domino effect.
Yeah. It's like we're setting ourselves up for those horsemen to come knocking if we're not careful.
Right.
But we don't have to just sit here and wait, right? Like, what can we actually do
Yeah.
to, tilt the scales in our favor?
Yeah.
What can we actually do to kind of live longer, healthier lives?
Well, the good news is we have a lot more control than we think.
Right.
Right. And Dr. Attia outlines 5 main areas. He calls them pillars for boosting longevity.
Okay, I like it. Pillars, nice and strong.
Exactly.
What are they?
So we've got nutrition, exercise, sleep, pharmacology.
Okay, and that's a fancy word for it.
That's drugs and supplements.
Yeah.
And then, rounding it out, emotional health.
Okay, those all make sense, but let's dive into each one a little bit,
Sure.
starting with, let's say, nutrition, because there's so much information out there.
I know, right?
And a lot of it seems to contradict itself.
It really does. So much noise.
What is the real deal when it comes to, diet and longevity?
Well, Dr. Attia, he does a really good job of kind of cutting through all that noise.
Give me the highlights.
Okay, so first and foremost, energy balance is key. Meaning the total number of calories you consume matters more than almost anything else.
So it's not just about eating the quote-unquote healthy foods.
Right.
It's also about the overall quantity.
Exactly. You can't outrun thermodynamics, right?
That's right.
No matter how nutritious your diet is, if you're constantly in a calorie surplus, eating more than your body burns,
Right.
you're going to see negative consequences down the line.
Okay.
So calorie balance is crucial.
Calorie balance is crucial.
Yeah.
Got it. What else?
Big one. Prioritize protein.
Okay.
Dr. Attia recommends aiming for around 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, which is more than many people realize they need.
Okay, so for someone who weighs, let's say, 150 pounds,
Let's see, that comes out to...
what is that, 110 grams of protein a day?
Yeah, about that, right?
Okay.
Which can be tough for some people to hit consistently,
It can be.
especially as we get older, because our bodies naturally start to lose muscle mass.
Right.
And it's a process called sarcopenia.
Sarcopenia, got it.
Yeah, it's a mouthful, but basically getting enough protein can really help you fight that decline and stay strong and mobile as you age.
Right, because I'd much rather be, hiking a mountain in my 80s than struggling to get out of a chair.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those are kind of the 2 big rocks of Dr. Attia's nutrition philosophy.
2 big rocks, yeah.
We've got tons of resources, though, if you want to go deeper on specific diets or fine-tune your own approach.
And we'll be sure to link those in the show notes.
Perfect.
But for now, I want to move on to another pillar, which I know I love.
Let me guess.
Exercise.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Of course.
Gotta love the centenarian decathlon.
I love that framework. It just changes how we should think about fitness, especially as we age.
Totally. It's not about how we look, right?
Right,
It's
yeah.
not about chasing these short-term goals.
No, it's about, how do we want to live our lives
Exactly.
decades from now? We want to be able to play with our grandkids, travel the world, dance at our grandkids' weddings.
That's it.
Whatever it is that brings us joy.
Functional fitness at its best.
It is. It's about building a body that can support those dreams, not hold us back.
Love it.
So, and it all starts, I think, he says, with a solid foundation. And he calls that stability.
Stability, yeah.
So when we talk about stability, what does that actually look like? How should we be moving our bodies?
So think good motor control,
Yeah.
balance, being able to move, efficiently and without hurting yourself.
Right.
So like that solid base for everything else that you're going to do.
Like a house needs a strong foundation.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have that stability. What's next?
Strength.
Okay.
So important for preventing falls, which is huge, especially as we get older.
Huge.
Maintaining bone density and just even navigating daily life.
You don't realize how important strength is until you start losing it.
So true.
And suddenly, simple things like carrying groceries or like playing with your kids becomes like a to-do.
Exactly. And then beyond strength, we have aerobic efficiency.
Okay.
So this is being able to like stay active for longer periods without getting totally gassed.
Okay.
Think like, brisk walking, cycling, swimming, things that keep your heart and lungs healthy.
It's like having that stamina to keep up with life.
Exactly.
You didn't want to be the one sitting on the sidelines while everyone else is out there doing the fun stuff.
Sure.
So, and then lastly, he talks about VO2 max.
Yeah, that's kind of like,
That's getting a little bit more in the weeds.
yeah, that's for your overachievers out there.
But it's basically like a measure of your peak aerobic capacity.
Exactly. Pushing your limits a little bit, seeing how efficiently your body can use oxygen during intense exercise.
Okay, so that one's for like the marathon runners
Yeah.
and the
Yeah, exactly.
Ironman athletes out there.
That's not me.
Me neither.
I'm more of a walker.
Yeah, exactly. Me too.
Yeah.
But even if someone hasn't been prioritizing fitness,
It's never too late to start.
never too late.
Our bodies are pretty incredible in how adaptable they are.
They are. It's really amazing what our bodies can do, even with a little bit of effort.
Every little bit counts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, should we move on to a pillar that's often overlooked, but oh, so important?
Yes, let's do it.
Sleep.
I knew you were going to say that. I've become quite the sleep advocate lately.
Well, it's funny because I used to be the same way.
Really?
I used to think that I could get away with less sleep. Like it was like a badge of honor to only sleep 4 or 5 hours a night.
Yeah.
Like it was a productivity hack or something.
Totally.
But, now I realize how important it really is.
Yeah.
And I was just sabotaging myself.
Sleep is huge. It impacts like everything. It really does. It's like our body's chance to hit the reset button each night. And our minds too. It's when all those repair processes happen, it's crucial for everything from, how well our brains work to like how we perform physically to our mood.
Everything. And one of the best things about sleep is that it doesn't have to be complicated. Like it's often those simple habits
Totally.
that make the biggest difference.
Absolutely. What are some of your favorites? You've become like the sleep guru.
Okay, well, first and foremost, consistency is key.
Yes.
Go to bed and wake up around the same time each day, even on the weekends.
Even on the weekends, that's a tough one.
That's a tough one, but it keeps your body's natural sleep-wake cycle in sync.
Like setting a schedule for your internal clock.
Exactly, which I'm trying to get better at myself.
Me too.
What?
Oh, this one's a big one for me. Make sure your bedroom is as sleep-friendly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking dark, cool, and quiet.
Yeah.
Invest in blackout curtains, a white noise machine,
Mm-hmm.
even earplugs if you need them,
If you live on a busy street or something.
or you have a snoring partner.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I've heard that a cooler room can really make a difference.
It does. I always thought I was like a warm sleeper.
Mm-hmm.
But then I actually lowered the thermostat. I was like, oh, okay, I get it now.
It's amazing what a difference a few degrees can make.
It really is.
Most people sleep best when it's around like 65 degrees.
Yeah, 65, that seems to be the magic number for a lot of people.
Another big one,
Yeah.
especially in our tech-saturated world. Disconnect from screens at least 2 hours before bed. That blue light,
That's the blue light,
it messes with our melatonin production,
which is
the hormone that basically helps regulate our sleep.
okay.
It's like telling your brain to stay awake
Right.
when you're trying to wind down for the night.
Yeah.
Not a recipe for restful sleep.
Exactly.
And while we're on the topic of things that mess with our sleep, let's not forget about late-night meals and alcohol.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say those late night indulgences,
They might seem tempting, but
they can really backfire.
they can, yeah.
Eating too close to bedtime, it can like disrupt digestion, make it harder to fall asleep.
Right.
And alcohol, it might initially make you feel sleepy,
Yeah,
but then it disrupts your sleep later in the night.
exactly. So it's kind of like a false friend in a way.
It is, totally.
It's all about setting yourself up for success. And remember, these are just a few simple starting points. If you're like really struggling with sleep, talk to your doctor
Yeah,
or a sleep specialist.
absolutely.
There are a lot of resources available, and there's no shame in asking for help.
No shame at all.
Okay, so we talked about sleep. Now on to a topic that always seems to spark curiosity and, you know, a fair bit of debate.
Oh, yeah.
Drugs and supplements for longevity.
It's a jungle out there.
It really is. What's the deal with those?
Well, with all the buzz about, like, these miracle supplements,
Right.
and then all the conversation around medications like metformin or rapamycin,
Mhm.
it's easy to get, like, overwhelmed or caught up in the hype.
Totally. Everyone's got an opinion, but how do we know what's actually worth looking into?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right?
It is.
So Dr. Attia offers this really helpful framework for evaluating anything that we put into our bodies that's not naturally produced.
Okay.
He calls these exogenous molecules.
Okay, so that's anything from like what, a multivitamin to,
Anything.
and the metformin.
Yep, exactly.
Got it.
So he starts by asking, is this substance aiming to lengthen lifespan, or is it more about enhancing health span?
Okay.
And it seems like a simple question, but honestly, a lot of people haven't really thought about the difference.
That's a good point, because it's easy to assume that living longer automatically means living healthier, but
Mhm.
those aren't necessarily the same thing.
They're not. And they can kind of be at odds with each other depending on like what you're doing to achieve that longer lifespan.
Exactly.
So once you've kind of figured out like what's your priority? Are you trying to add years to your life? Or are you trying to add life to your years?
Right.
Then you can start asking more specific questions.
Okay, like what?
So, for example, is this substance targeting like a particular disease or condition?
Mhm.
Or is it more like a general anti-aging solution?
Right, so it's like, are you trying to, treat something specific, or are you trying to just like slow down the aging process in general?
Exactly, exactly.
Got it.
And then, of course, the big one, what does the research actually say?
Right, because I imagine that varies widely.
Wildly. Some of these things, there's like decades of really rigorous research, and
Mhm.
other things,
Right.
it's like, one study on mice.
Right, and people are like, off to the races.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you want to be looking for, are the claims based on solid studies? In humans, ideally.
Right.
Or is it all, anecdotal evidence?
Yeah, and I imagine, especially for supplements, quality control and purity become even more important
Oh, hugely.
because they're not regulated as strictly as pharmaceuticals.
Exactly, exactly. So doing your research there, finding reputable brands, looking for products that have gone through third-party testing,
Right.
that's crucial.
It sounds like the key takeaway here is just be informed.
Be informed.
Do your research, talk to your doctor,
Absolutely.
understand what you're taking, and don't, fall for the quick fixes or the miracle cures.
They rarely exist.
They rarely exist, unfortunately.
That's
Speaking of things that are often overlooked, let's talk about that final pillar. Emotional health.
Yes. So important and often underestimated.
It's huge, right? It's so easy to get caught up in all the physical aspects of longevity,
Mhm.
but our emotional well-being plays a huge role too.
A huge role. That chronic stress,
Right.
that loneliness, negativity, those things can be just as damaging to our health span as
Yeah.
any, physical ailment.
And on the flip side, prioritizing joy,
Yeah.
gratitude, strong relationships,
Yes.
those are like fuel for a longer, healthier life.
They are. They build resilience, both physically and emotionally.
So for someone who's maybe been neglecting their emotional health, like focused too much on the physical side of things,
Mhm.
where do you even begin?
Well, I always think it starts with making a conscious effort to manage stress.
Mm-hmm.
So that looks different for everyone. Find what works for you, whether that's, mindfulness practices, it's like meditation,
Right.
spending time in nature, pursuing hobbies that bring you joy.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is, make time for that.
Yeah.
And then, nurturing your relationships.
Yeah.
Huge, huge. Make time for your loved ones. Connect with your community. And don't be afraid to, build new friendships.
Those are great reminders. And of course, never underestimate the power of, seeking professional support when you need it.
Oh, absolutely.
Therapy can be so valuable.
It can be life-changing
Yeah.
for navigating challenges and developing healthier coping mechanisms.
Well, there you have it. A crash course in longevity. From understanding the difference between lifespan and health span,
Right.
to identifying those 4 horsemen,
Those sneaky horsemen.
to exploring those 5 pillars that we can all focus on for, a longer and healthier life.
It's a holistic approach.
It is.
It really is.
And, I think it's important to reiterate, you don't have to do everything at once.
Oh my gosh, no.
Pick one area that resonates with you, make small, sustainable changes over time.
You'll get there.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. Exactly.
And celebrate the wins along the way.
Love it. Be kind to yourself.
Yes.
It's a journey.
And on that note, we'll leave you with a final thought from Dr. Attia that we didn't quite have time to unpack today.
Ooh, a
A
cliffhanger.
little cliffhanger for you. Imagine you could increase your health span by 20 years. But for those 20 years, you wouldn't be able to drive a car.
Ooh, interesting.
Would you make that trade? Something to ponder as you kind of embark on your own longevity journey. Until next time, happy diving.
Happy diving.